Hey everybody. Today I'm going to walk us through using Adobe InDesign to create the trifold brochure exercise that we are working on in Intro to Design class. So the first thing we're going to do is roll down here on our Macintosh computer and choose Adobe InDesign 2025. Click on that and the application will open up. One thing you want to do when you first open InDesign is come up here and look at About InDesign. And I'm working on version 20.5. This might have changed, as Creative Cloud, as Adobe release new versions. Some things might be a little different. This stuff is pretty basic, so it's unlikely to change, but you should be aware, especially if you have an older version of InDesign, that you need to update to get the latest tools that are included in the application. This is good, so let's go on. I'll click Escape to make that go away. And the first thing I'll do is choose File, New Document. This shows me a lot of my recent documents I've been using as I've worked my way through InDesign myself. And I'll click on Print and choose Letter for us, 8.5 by 11. Go ahead and click on that. Then over here on the right, we'll give it a name. Always name your files. We'll call this Brochure Demo. I'll put a date on it, 1006. And here I have my units are in inches. Yours might be something different. Go ahead and just change them to inches. 8.5 by 11, and we want it to be in landscape orientation, which is horizontal, right? Not vertical portrait orientation. We want it to be 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches high. That'll help us set up for our brochure. After we've got our document size and orientation the way we want, we're making a 2-page document, right? A front and a back. So we want 2 pages, but we do not want them facing each other, right? It's not like a book that opens up left and right side. This is going to be front and back. So we'll click to uncheck facing pages. It's a trifold brochure, right? That means it's going to be folded 3 times, which is 3 columns on the front and 3 columns on the back. We'll click here to make it go up to 3 columns, or you can just type 3 in the little box. Gutter is fine at 0.167. These margins are fine, but if you wanted to make a bigger margin, you could just click in one of these boxes and type in another number. See, all 4 of them changed? That's because of this link right here. I can click to uncheck that and then change, for example, the bottom margin maybe if I wanted to, and that would only change the 1 margin. I do want them all to be the same size, so I'll do that and click on this link again to make it join. Then we get down into the bleed. The bleed is how much of the document will go over the edge. This will help the color run right up to the edge, especially as it's being, trimmed at the printer. We don't want a white border all the way around. So I'm going to make my bleed 0.125 is fine. And you see I clicked on 1 and all 4 of them changed. That's because I have the link on here. We're not going to get into slug. This is really an area for printer's notes. We're not going to get into that in this exercise, but we do want to make sure our bleed is over the edge of the document. So I have a name. I have an 11 by 8.5 document in landscape mode. It's 2 non-facing pages, 3 columns with a 0.1667 inch gutter, 1 inch margins all around. We have a 0.125 inch bleed all the way around. That means it's going to print over the edge by 0.125 inches, an 1/8 of an inch. Let's click on preview to see what it's going to look like. I'll just move this out of the way. We can see our bleed line here is this red line. We can see our 3 columns, 2, 3. We can see our 1 inch margin all the way around. And we can see our gutters, which the 0.1667 inch. Right, the gutter is the space between columns. Looks good. Go ahead, click create. Also, as we roll down, we see that it's 2 pages, right? Front and back. I'm going to click Command 0 to just put this page on the screen for myself. And remember that InDesign is based on what are called frames. This is a little different than Illustrator, where we think of paths, or Photoshop, where we think of layers. Frames contain things. They are layout elements into which you can put, text, graphic, image, whatever. And so they're intended for you to be able to kind of frame content in your documents and sort of arrange them aesthetically the way that you want your design to look. For us, we're going to place some images and some graphics and some text. The first thing I'm going to do is click on this generic frame tool here. It's the one with the X in it. Remember rectangles, ellipses, and polygons from Illustrator. So I'm just going to come up here. I'll come all the way out to the bleed line, and I'm going to make myself some frames in each of these columns. And you might see that I have, so I'm dragging out these frames. Go ahead and kind of click on any of the corners to make them match up, or edges, right? These little white squares. I'm going to keep each one inside of its own gutter area. Go ahead and drag this one down to make it bigger. And I want you to see too, as I drag closer to these edges, it'll do what's called snap, right? It snaps to these guides to make everything line up. And that is under View, Grids and Guide, Snap to Guides. And what that does is makes these lines, as I draw them out, snap to the guides that are already on the page. Back in my rectangle frame tool, I'm going to go ahead and make another frame for myself. Snap. I have to click on my selection tool to do that adjustment that I was just mentioning. Same as Illustrator, same as Photoshop. Rectangle frame tool draws a frame. If I see this crosshair, that means I'm going to draw a new frame. I'll press Command Z to go back and undo that. And when I click on the selection tool is when I see this big black triangle. Then I can reshape the frames. If you can see here, watch it, as I drag, it's going to snap to the center of the gutter. That's one edge of the gutter, that's the center of the gutter, that's the other side. So I'll put this on the center of the gutter. Then I'll take another frame and drag it up here to meet that one, also in the center of the gutter. Oops, I just did it. I drew a new frame. Command Z. I'll press the V key, is the keyboard shortcut to get my selection tool, and then I'll come in here and kind of line this up. There we go. Oops. See how I didn't quite drag it out to the bleed line, so let's make sure that's done. There. So I have my first page of my brochure done. Remember in a brochure that as we fold it, this here is the front and this is the back. This is the inner fold. Then on our second page, we'll have the inside left flap, we'll have the inside middle, and the inside right flap. So be aware of that as you construct your brochure, right? So this one here, this far right corner, is the first thing that people will see. This is the front of the brochure. Now let's add some content to our document and fill these frames. I'll stick with the birdhouse company I was doing a demo about not too long ago. To add that to the document, I'll choose File, Place, and go to where I have my birdhouse logo at, .png. And you see how it's clipped to my cursor now, this little icon here. And I'll go ahead and match it up here to my to the edge of my document and add it in. You can see it's too big. So let me go ahead and make that smaller. Oops. I grabbed the frame and made it smaller. Right, if I grab this, I'm making the whole frame smaller. That's not what I want to do. I want to resize the image within the frame. With the selection tool, I'll control click on the image, and under fitting, I'll choose fill frame proportionally. That looks really nice. Okay, there's the first image on my brochure. Let's go ahead and add some more pictures. So maybe here in this big one at the bottom, I'll choose File, Place. Let's look for some birdhouses. Got lots of birdhouses. How about birdhouses 2? Oops. I had this frame selected, and so it dropped it in that frame. And what I did was click Command Z, and I actually want to click it into this frame. There we go. So you can see here that it's too small, right? I want it to be bigger. And I can double click in the image, and then we get this orange outline. Here I can click and drag that to increase the size of the image in the frame. Right, I'm moving things around. I'm not moving the frame. I'm only moving my photo. Remember, this is your gutter, so there's going to be a fold here. I don't want to put any important picture information in the gutter. So there, we got kind of a birdhouses in action shot right here for our brochure. And now we can begin to add text. So I'll click on T, the T for text tool, and I'll click here in this frame. And remember, this is the front of my document. So let's say Jay's Birdhouses. All right, that's the name of my birdhouse business. And I want to put that here in the front of my document. Right here on the right-hand side, I have all of my fonts. Ooh, Alexander Quill looks cool. Top one, let's try that. Its style is regular. And here is where I can change the size of my font. I click on the selection tool, and I'm now moving that frame around. I've made my frame too small, and it's started to break my words into 2 lines. And you all know there's different stuff you can do with our text. For our purposes today, you know, maybe we'll add a stroke to it for fun. Wow, that looks terrible. No, we won't. Right, I've got a stroke on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and say no stroke. Remember, this is our decorative font. This isn't one we want to use for everything. You might see I'm lining up my frames here, and look at how I can get my frames to overlap each other. They'll line up with each other. See the green line? It's showing me the frames are centered on each other. Now I have this one selected, the Jay's Birdhouses, and I'll shift click on this one. And maybe I don't want too much on my front page. So there, that purple line is the center of this column, and I want to kind of get it in the center of the page. That looks pretty nice right there. Remember that this is our decorative font, right? We don't want to put a lot of text in this font. So what I'm going to do here, notice I don't have a frame. I'm going to click and drag out a space for text here, and I'll say this is J Birdhouse website.com, phone number, some contact information, right, for our birdhouse company. We'll go ahead and center this. Why not? You can see how these 3 things are not aligned. Right, I want them all to kind of have a center line running through them. I can click and drag, like I said earlier, to line them up with that smart guide. Or I can shift click all 3 of them and then come over here under my align menu and click on this align horizontal centers. And now all 3 of these elements are centered on the page. Now I'll draw a couple more text boxes here with my T tool. And now I'm looking at this. I don't like these 1-inch margins all the way around. Doesn't look right. So I'm going to go back into my document. Nothing is selected. And right here, right, properties, no selection. Nothing on the screen is selected. There's no little dots. Right, it says linked file. It says linked file, text. Right, I want nothing selected. So now it says document. Right here are my margins. Let's get these down to a 1/2 inch, even 1/4 inch. That looks better to me now. So I've changed my margins. Whoops, now I'm on the other page. There we go. Changed my margins to make it much narrower margins. My bleed line remains the same, everything else the same, but I just changed these margins, shrunk them. Because now what I want to do is create some text boxes. And I'm going to resize these frames because I'm about to make them text. And I want them to fit inside the margins, right? Because we need our text to be not near the edge. There we go, right? Runs from gutter to gutter. I click on the birdhouse and kind of bring it in a little bit. I've changed these margins, so now the alignment is a little bit wonky. Just move that to center it. You see the purple line pop up? There we go. That's centered on the page now. Looking good. So this is the back of the document, and this is the inner fold. Now I see, I've changed the margins. I want to stretch out this picture a little bit. There. So now to add more text, I will click on my text tool and click and drag right here to make one text box. Let it snap to that side. And then I'm going to click and drag here to make another text box. Right there. Okay. Now I'm going to click the selection tool again, and remember in InDesign is a page layout tool. So they have what are called imports right here and outports, meaning that when you connect an import to an outport, the text will flow from one frame to another. So I'm going to go ahead and click back on this one. Then I'm going to control click here. I don't have any text written. So I press control and I say fill with placeholder text. And do you see what when I clicked fill, it filled both of these because I clicked on the outport here and then I clicked on the import here to add it. Right now it's showing me a broken link. It's telling me, do I want to break that link? No, I don't. I'll press escape to get out of that tool. You can see the threads connecting text boxes if you click on view and then extras and show text threads. See, it draws this little blue line from one to the other. I'm going to turn that off for now. Hide text threads. There we go. There's one page of our brochure. Now we'll roll on down to the next page. So what do we have here? This is the front. This is the back. This is the inner fold. Now we have the inside page. Maybe here's where we talk about how we make our bird houses and how much we love birds. So I'm drawing 3 different text boxes, and I'm going to go ahead and connect each of these text boxes. So I'll click to activate this one. You see it's activated with its little icons around. Here's the outport. I'm going to click on it, and I'll click right here. Now we can see that this has an active, some text coming in here, right? It's not empty. Then I'll click on this outport on the middle box. I click it. Now it's showing me text will be linked, and I'll put that one here. Now if I click on view and extras and show text threads, you can see how that text is in here. Back in my selection tool, I'll press control and click in one of those boxes. I will choose fill with placeholder text, and I have all of this text in here. Now I want to add some pictures to the bottom of this, the inside of my brochure. And let's say I want to put 3 birds in. I want to put a picture of a bird in column 1, column 2, column 3. But I don't have those pictures of birds readily available. So I can go to an online stock photography service and download images that'll work for my design. Let's take a look at that. All right, let me get over here to my browser. There we go. Stock.adobe.com. This is something that comes as part of your Creative Cloud subscription. You have all kind of different categories you can search. I usually click free and I'll look for birds. Enter. Oh, well, I hadn't even thought of this. This is pretty nice. But let's go with these. I'll click on download and download this one. Download this one. I like some of these graphics too, so maybe I'll download this one as well. And Adobe asked me if I need a vector version, a JPEG version, or a PNG version. You know, the vector version would be an Adobe Illustrator file, which is what the AI is. That would allow me to make further edits to it. A JPEG version is like a photo, but it won't be transparent. And then a PNG version can give us transparency. I don't want to do anything else to this file, so I'm going to choose the PNG. Remember, though, that this is not vector, right? If I rescale a PNG version, it might lose quality. So I'll click download to get that one. And so now I can go back into InDesign. You know, I said that I wanted to not put boxes in, placeholders for these, but actually I do, because I want to show you how you can do a bunch of images at once. So I'll click on my rectangle frame tool, and I will click here, click and drag to the center of my gutter. I'll get here and click and drag to snap to that one, and then I'll come out here to this bleed line and click and drag to snap to this one. Now I'll click on my selection tool, and I will click one, shift click, and shift click all 3 of them. Now I'm going to click File, Place, and in my Downloads folder I've got only 2 images. So I'll click on one and then shift click on a second and shift click on the third. I'll click open. And now it says I have 3 images clipped to this cursor. So I'll just come up here and click 1, click 2, and ooh, that looks funny. Click 3. I decided I didn't like that third image, so I'm going to press Command Z after pasting that in. That image doesn't seem to be cooperating with me, so what I'm going to do instead is draw a frame for it that's around the document. Now I'll click File, Place, find that bird image again, and click to add it. Right now it's inside that frame. And I'll press Control and go to my fitting options and say Fit Content. There we go. And I think that looks really nice. Now I can click and drag that up a little bit, drag it up a little more into the text, and you can see how I'm letting it run out past the margins to the bleed line. It is in front of my text now, so I want to arrange it to move it to the back. So I'll press Arrange and choose Send to Back. It's also kind of dark, so I can't have it interrupt my text, so I'm going to go ahead and change the opacity of these birds in the background to something a little different. Oops. Grab the wrong thing. Now that it's in the back, all of this text is in the front of it. I'm going to leave it where it's at for now and come down here to these bird pictures. So again, in these bird pictures, I want them to fit as well. So I control click on any of them, and under Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally. This one, I'll control click and then Fitting and choose Fit Content Proportionally. There we go, our nice little birdies there. That doesn't quite look right. I'm going to press Control click again and Fitting and say Fill Frame Proportionally. There we go. Now they match. And remember, I didn't get my third image, so let me go back to that Adobe stock, and I'll click Download here, saving. Then back in InDesign, I'll choose File, Place, get this Adobe stock image I just downloaded. It's clipped to my cursor. Come up here and click. Again, too big. Control, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally, and there we go. Looking pretty nice. Remember, you can always press the W key to see what it looks like without all the lines and things in it. Great. Let's say I want to style some of this text. I'm going to click on my selection tool and then one of these text boxes. And let's say I want this. And I'll say I want this all in caps and say YJ birdhouses. Then I can restyle that text. I can say it's in Minion. I'll choose bold for a header. Why not? And then I can do, I can just kind of type. Notice whenever I put a space or anything in here, right, because all of these are linked, it's just running on. Now I can see that I've got this red plus over here in the corner. I'll Command plus plus to zoom in and show you what that is. That means there's extra text down here. I don't care in this case because this is just placeholder text. So I'm going to double click in here to get that text cursor to come up and this highlight a bunch and delete it. Makes that red square go away. Let's go ahead and make our column header bold here. I triple click on that to highlight the line and I'll choose bold. And I want each column to start with a new header. Actually, I'll go ahead and put a line break in here and then a line break in here. 2 line breaks. Right, I'll call this our bird houses. I'll triple click on it. I will click here and make it bold. And I want this to start at the top of the next column. I can come over here. Here it says space after. I'll be adding space after that paragraph. That looks pretty nice. And then I'll go ahead and do the same thing on this side. We'll say, why we love birds. Press return to make that a line break. Triple click again. Click in the character menu and select bold. Go ahead and make this line break like we did on the first column. Make them all match up. And we did space after, we can also do space before right here. So I'll increase that to just kind of push it down. And now we have them all nicely situated at the top of each column. I'll click and delete some of that text. Put some line breaks in here to make it look nicer. Obviously, I would replace all this text with real stuff about my birdhouse company, should I be doing it. Command 0 to see how that looks. Great. So here's the problem with that specific method about space before and space after. I added a line break, and so it pushed that down. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and add another line break. And then what I need to do now is take out some of that space I put in before. I'm going to do that space before exercise again because I created too much space. Cool, that looks great. Okay, let's come on down here, up here to our other page. Here, I've got I click on my selection tool again. I click on these two text boxes. I don't want these to be linked because this is the back, like we said, and this is the inner fold. I want to break this. I want different text in each of these boxes. So I'm going to click on this and see how it breaks the link now. Click. So I did that, and now these two text boxes are not threaded, connected together anymore, right? All of that text is now hidden because I see the red plus. Let's go ahead and just get rid of some of that extra text that I don't need. Triple click in there to highlight the text, and so I'll just delete a bunch of that out. And now I want to repeat my contact information right here. Remember, this is the back of the brochure. So I'm going to go ahead over here into this column, click on my Jace Birdhouses, shift click on this contact information, click edit, copy, click on this text frame I made earlier, choose edit, paste. There we go. It's still highlighted, right? It's still selected, so I can just move it up into the center of this column, maybe right there. Actually, let's make all the top lines meet. Great. And now I'm almost there. I want to use this white space for something. I want to put a QR code in here so that people, when they pick up this print brochure, they can click on it with their phone and go straight to my website. In InDesign, I can click on Object and Generate QR Code, and it allows me to put in different types of QR code, plain text, send a text message, send an email, business card. I'm making a web hyperlink and just sending it to Atlanta Tech. This can go wherever you want. You can change the color of it if you like, but I'm going to make it black because it matches the rest of my document. And I'll click OK. And there I have a QR code attached to my cursor, and I click to drop it, and that's too small. So I can do this, but I only change the size of the frame. That's no good. I can change the size of the image by coming in here and doing this, but that also doesn't fit the frame. I want to make the image and the frame bigger at the same time. To do that, I'll click to select, and on a Mac, I can hold down Command and Shift and drag a corner of the frame to resize. Click off, and there we go. Big old QR code right there. Because I can't leave this empty space, I'm going to copy this and just paste it twice because I want to fill in the space. Make a little line break here to make it look a little nicer. And I think we're good to go. Look at how nice that looks. Uh-oh. Right here. This is the gutter. This is where the fold will be when we tri-fold our tri-fold brochure. And you can see how this J here crosses into that gutter. That means it's going to be on the fold. We'll cut some parts of it off. So what I want to do is choose my selection tool, click on that, and shift click on this, shift click on my birdhouse, and just kind of move them over to the middle. There, right now we're out of that gutter. That's the fold right there. And I've kind of eyeballed this into the center of this column. Command 0 to put it back on the page. Now we're good to go. Press W to see it without all the lines and things. That's a pretty good looking brochure. We got a bunch of nice pictures. We've got a background image. We've got several columns of text all threaded together. We have a transparent graphic that we brought in, some styled text, and a QR code. So that's great. Now let's go ahead and save it. I'll choose File, Export. Got my name in it. Tells me what it is. Format Adobe PDF. Click Save. Right here, you can change your compatibility if you like to Acrobat 8 and 9. Might save you a little file space. The rest of these defaults are fine. Click Export, and it's saved to my desktop. There it is right there. 1, 2. Take that over to the printer, tell them print it front and back, and you are good to go. But you don't have to do that for our class. All you have to do now that you've output your PDF file is upload it to Blackboard, and we'll look at it together and talk about it. Thanks for your attention. Give it a go, try it out, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.